webs, whoever built them. Rumor has it that it was Al Gore, but whoever made it, thank you, because now we're live with Darrell Patterson. Didn't I think he made the internet, didn't he?
He did. I don't know. He came up with the idea, I'm sure,
Yeah, I'm
and then
sure he
turned
did.
it over to research and development, and they did. He
Yeah.
delegated.
I had one of your, I think one of your the guys you know pretty well on about a month ago. We tried it the other day, and his internet where he was at in Las Vegas just wasn't great. But Nick Bonsanto.
No, Nick's my buddy. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I had him on, and the one rule, because the world right now is full of headlines. And if you want negative or controversy, just go, it's everywhere.
No
So I
kidding.
told him no politics.
Yeah.
And he didn't like that. He goes, "What do you mean no politics?" And I said, "No politics." And at the very end of it, we were talking about podcasting. And I said, "Hey, man, it sounds to me like you're really trying to make podcasting great again." And he pulled up a Joe Biden, go for Joe Biden. And that was how we ended the podcast. I thought that's about as enough politics as we can have. So my commitment is if anybody's looking for politics, we're not going to do it here.
Go somewhere else.
That's right. No.
Plenty of other places to get it.
Well, and even if we did, I'd like you no matter what, because we can just everybody can just disagree. That's
That's what the
okay.
world. That's what the
God,
world. That's what the world is about.
thank you
There's
very much.
room for everybody. There's room for everybody.
And I said this, and you've seen it too. When we had the tornadoes come through, or if your neighbor's in trouble, I was out here. I had family members lose their house. I'm living in East Ridge over by Camp Jordan, so it kind of started over here before it
Yeah.
got heavy. But we were helping a lot of neighbors. Not one neighbor stopped me and goes, "Wait a minute, who did you vote for?
Yeah. Really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where do you go to church?" Not
Yeah.
one neighbor asked me
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No,
Everybody jumped in.
you leave that at the door.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's for social media experts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Social media. All right, Darrell Patterson. How long were you the news anchor, the sports news anchor at Channel 9, News Channel 9?
Started in well, I started doing the 11 o'clock. I moved to Chattanooga in 1973. Started doing the 11 o'clock sports on Channel 9 in 1974. Bill McAfee was the sports director at the time, and Bill didn't want to do the 11 o'clock anymore. So Tommy Reynolds, Dr. Shock, was program director there, and he called me. I was working at WDOD Radio, playing records, having a good time. Records.
Yeah.
Remember what those things are? Yeah. And he asked and I was doing Mocs, Chattanooga Mocs football and basketball play-by-play. Tommy asked me if I would be interested in coming over and doing the 11 o'clock sportscast. So I did. I did, and did that up until basketball season started in 1974. And because I was traveling with the Mocs doing basketball, I couldn't do it anymore. And then in 1975, they hired a new general manager, and she decided, Jane Grams, who decided to make some wholesale changes in the entire anchor team. And they called me and asked me if I would be interested in doing the job full time. So June 5th, 1975 was my first full-time day at Channel 9. They'd hired Bob Johnson at the time. He went on the air a couple of months later. We eventually hired Don Welch, and the three of us became the three amigos, as it were.
Those were good. Listen, I grew up, in the 70s. I was 12 years old in 1980. So y'all were in
Thanks
my
a
sweet
lot.
spot. Yeah, well, I'm saying when the news was on at my mom and dad's house or my
Yeah.
grandfather, that's what I was watching you guys, and I was always impressed. If you go back and look, all of you had great hair. All
Yeah,
of you.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
been
Oh,
Don Welch, and
that
I
was a
mean
requirement.
that
Yeah.
was yeah. So real quick flashback. I don't want to revisit the podcast you did with me, and I'll post that here. So if you want to hear the full podcast I did with Darrell, you can go back and listen to it. So we're not going to dive into the history too much, but stop on the album part, record playing. I had Jeff Styles on last night, and we were talking about
I
because
saw some of that. Yeah.
he's got his own podcast about Rockyology.
Yeah.
But my daughter, who's 15, albums are coming back. She's buying them now.
I know.
She's got a record player.
Everything that's old is new again. If I could pan the phone around here and show you those boxes sitting back there, those are full of LPs of
There you
albums.
go.
and I've got the stereo set up over there on the side. And this
Yeah,
is kind of my bonus room, the music room. Got a little treadmill over here. I got clothes hanging on it and stuff.
that's what
And
treadmills are for.
there are my
Yeah,
coat hanger. But I got albums. Now I don't have anything that's probably been released. If there has been an album released in the last 20 years, I probably don't have it.
right.
But my background was in radio and in music, and love playing. I do a little dance music, DJing kind of stuff from time to time, and,
Do you
and
really?
do some karaoke. Yeah, and I'm good. Nobody runs a tighter board. Nobody runs a tighter board and
Wait,
has better music. Now, again, if
oh,
you want to hear something, now Uptown Funk and that kind of stuff, I've got it. I've downloaded it.
yeah.
But my big thing is 60s stuff, Motown, and that kind of stuff.
I'm just gonna be honest.
That's my wheelhouse.
We were running a little late because I had some technical problems, and I thought I was gonna have to invoice you for your time. But now that you're doing commercials live for your DJing business, I think we're even, man. I think we
I got to find a way to make some golf money. You know what I'm
okay.
saying?
I was talking to Jeff the first time we did a podcast or a video, and we were talking about I'm going to play this little game with you at the end called Would You Rather. And one of them, I asked him a question about pancakes, and he reached over and he grabbed the Aretha Frankenstein's pancake mix,
Yeah.
and here like he held it up and he did a literally a 20-second spot, and I said, "Do they sponsor you on the radio?" And he goes, "Maybe." I went,
No,
"Oh
but they
my gosh,
should.
absolutely."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so the albums are coming back, and I grew up watching you, and I've known you for a long time in other ways. And a couple of questions I had for you, and I'm just going to throw it out there so you don't have to respond to this. But I was talking to Darrell before we came on, and you were telling me that your wife is not the biggest sports fan in the world. She'll watch some
Yeah.
sports with you,
Yeah.
but I said you guys should do like counseling services because from what you came from, that was all you did was sports, and you said that was the secret. You never brought it home.
Never did. Never did. And again, Ann and I met, we got married in 1972. She's from Nyota and I'm from Athens, same county, halfway between Chattanooga and Knoxville. And we had a common interest in music. And there's a lot of other things that we have common interests in. Uh, even though I worked in sports for 40 years covering sports, I was not, I can't tell you who won the World Series in 2005 or in 1925. I can't tell you what number uniform somebody wore. Now, Dave Staley, that I worked with at Channel 9 for a long time, Dave has a memory like a steel trap. He can tell you the date, the time, the place, and everything else that something happened.
Wow.
I'm just not that kind of person, and I really didn't bring the business of sports home with me. We didn't, I would, yeah, I I went to a lot of football games. I went to a lot of baseball games. I covered those games. I was there as a reporter, covering those ball games. Uh, and it was hard for me to go and watch a game as a fan because I really didn't know how to do that. I was always a reporter and reporting on games and stuff. Uh, and she would go with me a lot of times when time permitted and when the game was in an area where we could go to. But she's not a big sports fan. But we have she respects what I do and what I like, and we might watch a Tennessee football game on TV on Saturday afternoon or something like that. But she wouldn't watch a Braves game. And I'm a Braves fan. She hates baseball. It is so slow. She is not interested in watching it. So I tried not to bring.
Uh-oh, I lost Darrell Patterson. Let me text him and just tell him to re-click that invite, and he'll join us again here in just a minute. So stay with me because I want to make sure we let him finish that story because I had a cool question for him. Just re-click invite. Just re-click invite. And one of the things too um, is every time I've talked to somebody that's in the TV world or that we know in the media. A lot of them started in radio. Let's see here. Just click and to join. There we go. Let's see if you can join us back again here in a minute. But most of the time, when I have interviewed TV folks or anybody like that they started in radio. And very rarely have I talked to somebody that is in radio that started in TV. I don't know. I think it gives them a little more, gives them a little better impromptu. They can a little better off the cuff. Let me hide my name till Darrell gets back on here. I saw he's responding. He's trying right now. But the conversation I had with Darrell the first time, I did not know he actually started in radio. And when we started talking about that, we went on a little bit of a squirrel journey, squirrel conversation about albums and music and how important it was to what he did, and then his transition over to TV. And let's see if he's joining me back again. There we go. Oh, it froze up on him. Froze up. So we may take a break. Well, just try when you can, and we'll do a part two. We'll do a part two. All right. So what I might do, if I'm going to give him about 2 or 3 more minutes to come back on with me. If not, I'll end this one. I'm not going to delete it. I'll leave it up there so you can watch it because it was good stuff. And then I'll come back on with a part two as soon as his phone unfreezes, because that happens. The internet is crazy now. There he is. I think he's back. Are you back? Hold on a second. Okay. There, I was. I want you to know that that minute and a half, I felt a little bit like a TV guy on the camera when the front when the when the thing went down. I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, let me tell you about this time in 1986 when I
You know,
too."
as Bob Johnson and I used to always say on air when something like that would go wrong, Bob or I would say, it all started at a 250-watt radio station in Athens, Tennessee, or in Marietta, Georgia. It's like you go over your career. You
I
have to
was
sing
about
and
to.
dance sometimes. No, the screen just froze up, and
Yeah, it's
all of a
okay.
sudden you're freezing and I'm freezing. And
If it happens again, just hit that re-click. And I said this to somebody the other day. It happened with, I can't remember who it was, but everybody is using Facebook now. Everybody's using the
sure,
internet, so
yeah.
there's high, it's high voltage right now.
It wouldn't
Uh,
let me re-click, so I had to, I had to use all of my technical experience, and it took me a minute and a half because I'm not as young as I used to be.
That's okay. I had started in 1968 when I was born, and I was going forward. No, I was talking about one of the things that has surprised me is most of the guys that and girls that I've talked to in TV got to start in radio.
Yeah, yeah,
Almost all of them have.
yeah.
And
Back in the day, that was the way it happened. It was a kind of a normal progression. If you were to go back and talk to people who are, I want to say, 60 years old above, 50 years old and above, who work or are or were in the business, they came up through radio.
yeah,
In the last 20, 25 years, it's different now because I never went to journalism school. I went 2 years to college, uh,
yeah,
and I was already working in radio at the time. And I was actually an elementary education major when I was in college. I wanted to be a teacher, but I was working in radio, and I really, really liked what I was doing. It's what I had always wanted to do. So it was like, there's no need for me to go on with this teaching thing. I just need to go ahead and get into radio, which I did. And I wasn't thinking about going into TV when I went into TV.
it was the
Bob
big
was the
money.
same way.
It was
Weldon
the
was the same way.
it was the big money of radio. I'm sure that it was the big money.
Yeah, I think my first paycheck was $37.18 in radio.
That's about what it is
That
now.
was in 1966 or something like that, that was good money. Yeah, yeah,
I was going to ask you a question because you had talked about the way that you reported the news. You don't have the memory of some other folks, or you just never followed it like that. Do you think, first of all, since you've got out of it, has it been easier to watch as a fan sports overall? And second, do you think because you weren't so deep in it as a fan, it made you a better reporter?
you know, when I decided to retire, I decided 2 years before, or 3 years maybe before, that I retired. When I was going to retire and how I was going to retire. I was not going to work on my 65th birthday. That's what I told them at the TV station. I'll sign whatever contract you want, but I'm not working on my 65th birthday. That'll be December 13th, whatever year it is, 2013. I won't
Mm-hmm.
work that day because I'll be 65. When I pulled out of the TV station parking lot that night, I I didn't look back. I had no regrets. There's life after that business for me. like I was saying before we were interrupted by the failure or whatever, I'm not the world's biggest sports fan. I enjoyed covering it. I played sports when I was in high school. I love going to games. I love watching games. But that's not the most important thing in my life. I loved covering. I got to be really, 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 really good close friends with a lot of people that I covered in sports, and still am in touch with many of them today. Many of the coaches that I covered when I was, high school coaches, still good friends with them. Still good friends with a lot of the players that I covered, and I will still, Clint, to this day, I will meet. I say kids; they're adults, your age and whatever now, and they will meet me at that hardware, the grocery store, or something, and they'll say, "You covered me. You did this story on me when I was playing football at City or at Kirkman or somewhere like that." Some of the stories I actually remember doing, but it's there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them, so no, I don't remember all of them. But it was a great business for me to be in because it was kind of like in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's kind of like teachers. Teachers right now get people walking up to them all the time going, "You were my English
You
teacher." And it's
exactly,
kind of the same thing. Kind of the
exactly,
exact same thing.
exactly.
All right, so let's jump ship here, and again, I'll post the full podcast where Darrell and I go a little deeper in the woods on that. We don't have any sports right now,
No.
so for a guy that's not covering it, and I know it's not the biggest part of your world, don't you feel like our friends over at Sport Talk? I talked to Quake and
Oh yeah.
Gentleman Joe, and I'm like, dude, you
What are
guys are
we going
doing
to
good.
talk about today? Yeah.
But I mean, it's a weird time. Is part of that? Do you miss a little bit of that now? Are you like you don't have your baseball? Braves
I,
aren't playing.
I miss when you get that remote control in your hand. And keep this in mind. Keep a lot of people, unless you've been there and done that, walked a mile in somebody else's shoes, you can't really relate to them. I worked for 40 years where I went in. Normally, I would go to the TV station about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was there until midnight or later. I had some really long hours, and that was Monday through Friday. I still don't know who shot JR. There are a lot of other things that I never watched TV except maybe on the weekends, and normally it was a ball game if I watched ball games on weekend. So watching TV, sitting with Ann and watching TV shows at night and stuff like that, that's new to me. That is new to me. A lot of people have been doing that their
You
entire
missed the
life.
Dukes of Hazard. I can't believe you, man. You missed the Dukes of Hazard.
What are those Dukes?
Yes.
Where is Hazard? I
They
don't
played. They
know.
were playing against North Carolina back in the '80s. Yeah.
But do I miss any of that? I miss being on the golf course. I played now when I live in Eagle Bluff, and when the place up here closed, before it closed, I was playing golf 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Now I'm not doing that anymore, and with everybody, I try to stay in as much as possible. Not good, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I could get used to a lot of this stuff.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I'm wearing Amazon out. I am. The guys come here and I have a cup of coffee or a cold drink for them outside
Yeah.
because they're here all the time. And it's no, I don't. Oh, no, I don't miss the stuff. I did flip through with that remote control the other night, and this week, I guess, I've been watching the Braves win the 1995 World Series. I was there in person. I watched it. I saw it in person, and now I get to watch it on TV because I watched it at the ballpark. Now I get
Yeah.
to watch it on TV. I didn't see some of that
Well,
stuff
see,
on
that's
TV
good.
when I was covering it.
You get to watch the replays and
It's
stuff like
different.
that.
It's just it's
Yeah.
it's almost like I'm seeing stuff through a different set of eyes than the eyes I saw it with back then.
Yeah. Well, and going back to the golf part of it, it seems to me golf would be one of those things that people should get back to kind of quick. And here's why: you can social distance.
Yeah,
There's sunshine involved,
yeah.
and it's a good way to get people away from the people they've been cooped up with for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I play with a
So
couple of different groups. We have about 10 or 20 in the group at different times. And we do, other than two riding in a cart when we play, we are social distancing because we're all equally bad. So we're all hitting the ball to different places, anywhere other than the fairway. Like I said, I played golf one time last month.
Do y'all
So
wash the money? Do you disinfect the money before you exchange it when you win or lose? Do y'all spray it with Lysol?
we have a running account. It's all on paper. It's done. We got a guy that's in charge of all that stuff, so
Yeah,
he takes care of that.
it was handled at Merv's via hamburgers or something. I'm
Exactly,
sure.
exactly. We have
Have
accounts
you
everywhere.
have you picked up a new habit, or have you started reading a book that you had to read, or read? Have you learned something? Has this brought something out that you kind of either reminded of or hadn't learned?
Not really. I like to do yard work.
Hmm.
I mow my own yard. I like to work. I walk around the house every day, 3, 4 times, and I may pull weeds, or I'm looking at the house to see did anything change from yesterday. Do the gutters need painting? The house need painting and stuff like that. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing stuff like that. And uh, I don't. I'm not a sitting around person. I'm not. I need to be doing something all the time. I may come up and sit down here at my desk and just play with music for an afternoon. And I do the treadmill. I do an hour a day on the treadmill,
Oh
and I
wow!
put together my own music to play and listen to while I'm on the treadmill. And it has to have a certain beat. I'm not a runner. I don't run. I walk at a pretty good pace. And I like to have the music that has the pace that I can walk with, because for a white guy, I got pretty good rhythm. So
See,
I
that's
can walk.
we need to see. You need to post your playlist so we can pick out. Maybe make suggestions or kind of steal from you.
I've actually thought about doing that when I'm on the treadmill sometimes. It's like I do have a YouTube channel. I think I used to have one, and I should
Oh,
throw that music on there and tell people download this and play it as you walk on your treadmill or as
yeah,
you're walking around the neighborhood. But you have to walk at the pace of the music.
and it'll keep your get your heart rate up and get your steps in. And
Exactly,
all right, so
exactly.
here's the question, and I promise you I wouldn't take too long. But here's an interesting question,
I don't
especially
have anything else to do, anywhere to go.
you got to walk around your house and look at the gutters. That's big stuff.
I've already
Uh,
pulled weeds today, so.
well, okay, so looking to the fall, I'm going to say something that's sacrilegious. I posted this about a month ago. Do you think in your gut we have football?
Yeah, I do. I think
Okay, okay,
I I hope we do. I
I do
really
too.
do. Because if you take all the sports, I'm a bigger football fan than I am a sport of any of the other fans. I'll miss it, and
Oh yeah,
I think the country will miss it. And the reason I say yes is because yes, I think we'll have a season, because I'm positive, and I hope, I really hope that people will take this coronavirus very, very seriously. I have a friend who just lost his wife of a long, long time at the nursing home in Athens just this week
oh
of coronavirus. This is serious.
yeah.
This is serious. So practice social. Stay away from people. You don't really need to go places and be around. Do you need to go to Home Depot and spend Sunday afternoon?
Well, I think
No.
the thing that has frustrated me and is a little bit is not so much me and my son, he's 21. We have these conversations, and I'm a big believer. If a business wants to stay open, that goes down that
Yep.
political road. But
Yep.
the flip side of it is, I think businesses should be able to stay open if they want to. Here's the problem, though: we as people have forget with freedom comes responsibility, not just the I get to do
Absolutely.
what I want to.
Absolutely.
So you gotta, as I think common sense has left the door. It's almost like we're a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
I don't get to go outside. I'm going to go outside. Or you could use a little bit of common sense and go, if I go outside, I'm going to do it responsibly
Sure.
and I'm going to be considerate. People just have lost that little fine line. It's either we got to be extremes. I don't
Yeah.
get it. Silly.
It's selfish. It is
Very, yeah.
selfish. It's me, me, me. I want to go here. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do this. There are 350 million whatever people in this country. They all want to do stuff too. And
Yeah.
keep in mind, this coronavirus is a worldwide epidemic, and we are all in this together. We'll get past it, but the researchers don't even know a whole lot about it.
Oh.
So
And
if
let me
the
tell you,
experts,
my friend from high school on social media don't know anymore, doesn't know anything about
uh,
it either.
I know
Yeah,
drinking bleach would not be a good idea. It's a good idea to
no,
clean stuff with, but don't
yeah.
ingest the stuff.
Well, and the flip side of it is, and I've been a business owner myself several times, and so I have a really soft spot for the like my three buddies here that have
Yeah,
businesses in East Ridge, and they're like, "Man, I am literally 2 weeks away from just having to shut it down forever."
sure, sure.
And I would
I
hate to make some
can't
of these
even,
decisions.
I can't even imagine what those business owners are going through.
Yeah,
You can throw your door open, but if they don't have confidence that your business is that you if you're going to open it, clean it, make sure it follows all of the guidelines and everything else, and make sure that your customer is safe and can feel safe when they walk in that door.
yeah, and it's perception too. You
It
know,
is.
you can put the open sign on, but there are people that will go back, and for them,
Yeah,
go for it.
yeah,
That's fine. I just think that there's so many things unknown that when I have friends that actually tell me this is 100% what we should be doing, that was wrong and this was right, I immediately go based off what last pandemic are we drawing? What's the precedent?
yeah,
Show me a precedent of this, and then
exactly.
I'll listen. There's no
Yeah.
precedent. And
Now,
I
when the
have
next,
sympathy for our leaders too,
when the
local,
next,
national, everybody.
and all of this conversation goes back to your question of will there be college football?
Thank you, sir.
If I don't think today or tomorrow, being Saturday, would be a good day to put 100,000 people in Neyland Stadium watching a ball game.
Nope.
We're all old enough to remember the scare of the AIDS epidemic. What the questions that everyone had at that time regarding their sexuality, their sexual habits, their sexual partners. It's the same thing now with a different kind of virus. If you're going to go out and rub shoulders and be around in close contact with 100,000 people, you need to know where every one of those people have been to in the last couple of weeks and who all of those people that they've been in contact, and on and on and
Yeah.
on, and you just don't know that. You think, well, that's my third cousin twice removed, he's a great guy, he's blah.
Yeah.
You don't know that. You don't know that. It's scary. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that uh, I might be a carrier. I might have the disease, not know about it, and carry it home to my wife or carry it somewhere else, and I don't. No,
Well, and
no.
you mentioned other viruses. I mean, and if you look at it, it's the spike in fear when there's all these unknowns. But
Yeah.
as we figure it out, everybody kind of goes, oh, those fears were unfounded. If we
Hmm.
do this, this, and this, we're fine.
Yeah,
That's where we'll get to eventually.
we are not as I'm a macho man and I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Not with this virus. You're not. No, you're
Nope.
not. Yeah,
No.
you're not.
NASCAR's coming back with no fans.
Uh, that, it'll be different.
Yeah.
It might. Yeah, they're talking about resuming the baseball season in a couple of months with no fans in the
I didn't know
stands.
that.
NASCAR with no fans, and doing that. It's our world, the world of sports, and our world in general. I think when I think if we fast forward and we could look into a crystal ball and see 1 year from now and how we
Mhm.
do everything, how we shop, how we socialize, how we do everything, and how we go to sporting events may totally change. It may
It's gonna
absolutely
Well,
change.
maybe now when I go to a game, I'll be able to sit differently than this. Maybe they'll give me a little room where I can not, not feel like because you know, I'm a square. I'm built like a rectangle. So
Well, so that kind of goes back to what we were saying when I was going to games and I was going to Neyland Stadium covering the Tennessee Vols. I was going as a reporter, so I was either on the sideline or I was up in a press box. I
yeah,
was not in one of those 100,000 seats that are out there. when I start going as a fan, and I sit there and it's like, what happened? What is this? That's why I prefer to go to a Mocs game. I got season tickets for the Mocs. I
Yeah.
love the Mocs, and I go watch them play.
I have a friend, and then we'll move on to a different topic. I have a buddy who is actually a football coach, not here in Chattanooga, outside of Chattanooga, and in college. And he messaged me and he said the big issue for them is insurance, trying to get insurance if for the coronavirus for the players and fans. And I had not thought of that.
I had not. I had
Yeah.
not. That's you open one door and you walk through it and you think I got this. Now you walk and you go through another door and it's a whole different
Because
thing.
all it takes is one lawsuit happy
You
person,
got
and
that
they're
right.
changing the name of the college to something else.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, so I wanted to ask you a quick. I've got a little game. Me and my daughter have been playing these games at night, family-friendly versions of Would You Rather, and the feedback and everybody can play along. It's funny, but I've got just 4 or 5 questions for you. I
All
thought
right.
this would give people an interesting insight to Darrell Patterson,
Mm-hmm.
and have none of them have to do with golf or any of that. So you're
Okay.
safe. You don't have to make up a lie in the stories. But if you could only eat one for the rest, oh, real quick before we do that, shout outs. Ron Hall says Darrell Patterson is the man.
Yes, I am,
Amy
Ron. Thank you. Checks in the mail, my buddy.
Amy Angar Burdett, hi friends,
Amy,
two of
my
my favorite
neighbor.
people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
is she?
Oh,
I
yeah,
worked
yeah,
I worked with Amy for a number of years. She's a good
yeah.
friend.
Amy lives on this side, and Sam lives on this side. Sam and Joyce, her mom and
Oh
dad. So
yeah.
we're we're big time buddies.
I used to go in. It was funny. I used to go in there a lot. Of course, this was 15, 20 years ago. And I worked with Amy at the time. And I would always go in. If I went in with Amy, it was no problem. Hey, I would go in without Amy. And I would always go through and say, hey, you know, Mr. Anchors, Clint Powell, work with Amy. And after about the 5th time, he goes, you don't have to do that anymore. I know who you are. I'm not kind of like,
every time Sam drives by, he'll stop and he and I will talk out in the yard or a lot, or I'll go by the restaurant through the drive-through or something. And Sam, for ever since I retired, actually, every time I go through the drive-through, Sam will come. He'll see me over there and we'll wave and talk. He'll say, "Come and run my restaurant. I need to retire. Come and run my restaurant." It's like, Sam, I don't know anything about the restaurant business. I'm not going to. He said, I don't know anything about the restaurant business. Come. Sam and Joyce are great people. Amy is
what's
a
your up?
great
Are you still
person.
there?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
there you
no.
go. Sorry about that. You froze up a little bit. All right. Here's my questions. Would you rather, Darrell Patterson, you could only eat one for the rest of your life, pancakes or waffles?
Yes.
It's not acceptable answer. Nah,
Okay.
that's the Gong Show.
I'm gonna go with waffles. I'm gonna go with waffles.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Originally, I said pancakes, but then my daughter reminded me the waffles had the little square things that capture the
Yes.
syrup and butter.
Yes,
So
they do. Yeah. Yeah.
you could only have one for the rest of your life. And now, based off our current conversation we just had, this will be interesting. French fries, tater tots, or onion rings?
Fries. French fries.
I went
Or
with tater
anchors.
tots.
Or anchors. Onion rings. Yeah.
There you go. I went with tater tots. Do you, sir, put ketchup on your scrambled eggs?
No. No.
Oh man,
Pepper.
that's
Pepper.
disappointing.
Pepper. No.
Oh, you put okay. You don't put
Yeah.
ketchup.
Yeah.
Um,
No ketchup.
all right. Do you salt on your watermelon or no salt?
Both.
Oh,
Mostly no. No.
that's what I said.
But
I didn't know it was that dividing. Somebody asked me that the other night, and I said, I don't. It doesn't really matter.
yeah.
And they
I'm
were like very
ambidextrous
clear.
where that concerned. You know, I go either way.
Yeah, you're amphibious. You can swim with
Yeah,
watermelon in
sure.
either hand. Yeah, that's good. All right. This is a. I'd asked you this before we came on about the Michael Jordan show, the Last Dance. You have not seen it yet,
Not seen it yet. No.
but based off views and Michael Jordan, in your mind, best basketball player,
Yeah.
or is there some? Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah. I
I've
don't.
asked that.
To me, there's no question. No question. LeBron's a great player. There have been other great players. Magic Johnson was a great player. Larry Bird was a great player.
Kobe was a great
Uh,
player.
Kobe was an awesome player. Dominique Wilkins in his day was an awesome player. Uh,
Well, see, I grew
greatest
up
of
with
all
the
time. Yeah. No, Michael
UTC
was
Gerald Wilkins when he played at UTC.
Gerald
Wilkins.
Wilkins.
So do you remember the horrible thing they did to him when they went to New York and they said he was the Michael Jordan stopper? He was
Yeah.
going to, his
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. I was like, why would y'all do that
Yeah.
to, especially somebody I like?
You know, there was one time in his career that Gerald said something to me about check the stats. Michael has his lowest scoring average per game when I'm on him. And I checked, and he did.
Yeah.
Gerald did a good job. Gerald didn't get a whole lot of credit for being a good defensive player, and he was.
He was
But
a great player.
Can you imagine playing defense against 23?
Well, back in those days, you could hand check. I said this to my daughter the other night.
Yeah.
Back in those days, you could hand check, and it wasn't a foul. If he played in today's rules, he would have
Oh,
averaged 50 points a game. I mean,
yeah.
you can't touch. You couldn't touch him. Back in those days, they would kill
Right.
people. They would.
Right.
Yeah, and on that Gerald Wilkins team, that was Cornelius Crank. There was a couple of good players on UTC's team at that time.
Cranky may have been a few years before that. Gerald was on the same team, I want to say, with Nick Morgan, maybe Willie White, Stanford Strickland.
Oh, Willie White. There's a name I hadn't heard in a while.
Yeah, they're all those guys. And they were in and out at different times, so they kind of all run together for me as to who was on which team. But I do remember the first ever game at the Roundhouse.
Oh,
That was Michael Jordan. No, the first ever game at the Roundhouse was Dale Ellis and the Tennessee Vols playing against the Mocs. And that was Willie White and Stanford Strickland, and I think Gerald was on that team. And then a few weeks later, North Carolina came in. That was Michael Jordan and Sam Worthy and Worthy, Jordan, and Perkins. And Jimmy Braddock, that was from Baylor School, were on that team. Of course, UTC lost both those games. Both of them were close games. But that was Wilkins took over the Carolina game late, and they won the game. They beat the Mocs. The Mocs were ahead of them for a while in that game. And I want to say that Gerald was on that team, but don't hold me to that.
That was back in the heyday of college basketball.
It
too,
was
the
that
80s
was,
and 90s
yeah.
before it became, and it's always been a business. And I think we all saw this coming where everybody starts fending for themselves. Boy, back in the 80s and 90s, there were some great college matchups.
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
college matchup.
Yeah.
Amy said, I guess she was referring to your the onion rings comment. She goes, "That's right." So she's giving support, of course, to the family onion ring franchise that they have going on over there. All right. Well, listen, I know that you are super, busy because you've got to go play golf or something.
More weeds.
More weeds.
Let's say I washed the driveway. I power cleaned it yesterday. I did the sidewalk. I got that done. I'm pretty much caught up.
When are you going to start?
Ann wanted to go look for some plants today, so we'll probably put the mask on and go out to Ace Hardware here and check the plants. See if Bill's got
When are
any
you going to start doing golf again? When are you going to get back at it?
Well, my group has kind of reformed and started playing again, and they're going to play Monday.
Okay.
I have a commercial shoot Monday, so I can't join them. I got to get some golf money, so I got a commercial shoot.
But you'll be back now that it's back and the weather's good. I'm sure you'll get in a couple next week.
I'll be back. I'll be riding on a cart by myself, and I'll be looking for my own ball and writing down par.
Right. Absolutely.
Give me
What is a
par.
caddy stack? You just kick it. Interference.
Yeah, close enough.
Close enough. Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, I'm gonna let you go, and if maybe in a couple of weeks, if this hasn't changed too much and you're bored, we might do it again.
I'm off that day, so just let me know.
Good. I appreciate it, Darrell Patterson. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you all for watching. See you later.